About 2 weeks ago, I saw an article in the paper. I don't have it with me right now, but again, it was another marine biologist / toxicologist, and she had been diving in the ocean around this area in the Gulf and finding that very small fish, very little, tiny little fish, had been ingesting some of this dispersant, which I guess is very toxic. But it wasn't completely toxic to the small fish, but the point she was making is that the small fish a lot of them are being eaten by bigger fish. And then those fish are being eaten up the food chain by sharks and dolphins and other things. And she was pointing out that as it did that, it became even more toxic as it went up the food chain. Do you have any knowledge of this? And what steps is the FDA taking to look into the possibility that these small, almost down to the phytoplankton size, but teeny little fish are eating this dispersant, and that's being moved on up the food chain to the kind of fish that we eat? What's the FDA doing to keep tabs on that?
We've looked very closely at the question of whether the dispersants could affect the safety of the seafood, of what people eat. And we're confident, based on what we know now, that we don't have a concern there. The issue here is whether the dispersants are actually absorbed into the flesh of the animal or bioconcentrated, as the scientists say. And there's some basic mechanisms of the way in which these water-soluble compounds, which is what the dispersants are able or not able to pass the membranes, whether it's in the gills or in the intestine of the fish, which are lipid membranes. And so because these are water-soluble compounds, there's a physiological barrier, in essence, that the animal has created that protects the flesh of the food, what people eat, from being contaminated. This does not mean that these compounds are not potentially harmful to the fish themselves, and we understand there are issues there. But as we focus on the safety of the food itself, we feel confident that these dispersants are not getting into the food in a way that would affect the safety of the food.
You're very confident of that?
Yeah, based on the science that we've got and some really good experience with this, we're confident of that. We know that NOAA, for example, is doing some further studies to verify this understanding about the inability of these compounds to bioconcentrate. We're certainly working with NOAA and following that, but there's a large body of experience with the properties of these compounds and past oil spill situations that give us confidence on this point.
How about people eating shrimp? I'm over my time. One last question. How about people eating shrimp? How confident should we be that the shrimp we have in our salads, in our soups, in our meals that we buy, how safe is that?
Because of the aggressive action by NOAA to close waters, we're confident that if it's on the market today, that shrimp and other seafood taken from the Gulf is safe. Those are very aggressive preventive measures. It's the best thing we can do is to get control of a situation where there's a potential hazard and really prohibit the taking of fish from those areas. Those waters are being patrolled by the Coast Guard and by NOAA, and now there's testing going on to verify, in fact, that the seafood is safe. But that basic preventive measure is something we have going for us on the food safety aspect of this that perhaps we don't have certainly in the occupational context of exposure to the oil or the dispersants.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tedder.